Welcome back, mathematicians. Over the past few weeks, we've been learning different ways to add and subtract larger numbers. We used our tens and ones place to add and subtract. We used our knowledge of adding and subtracting to do it without our tens and ones place. And last week, we learned a new method of how to add when we break the numbers down into their tens and ones. And there was a few steps that we had to follow in order to do that and get our answer. Now this week, we're going to be learning a new way to subtract larger numbers, and it involves something called borrowing and regrouping, okay? So borrowing and regrouping requires us to borrow from the tens place in order for us to be able to subtract in the ones place. Now that might sound a little crazy, but we're going to work through it together and go through each step so that you guys will be able to do it on your own. So let's get started. So we're going to look at our first problem here, 42 minus 25. So as in any problem, when we do math vertically, we're always going to start in the ones place. So we know we're going to start over here with our 2 and our 5. So when you look at 2 and 5, so we have 2 minus 5. What do you notice about that? Can you take 5 away from 2? Like if I have 2, can I take away 5? No, I don't have 5 to take away. So you're probably like, Miss Williams, what am I going to do? I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. So you're going to borrow from the neighbor and regroup, okay? Let me show you how this is done. So I'm going to cross out my 4, and I'm going to borrow 1 so I can bring it over to my 2, okay? So when I take away 1 from 4, that leaves me 3. So remember, I'm borrowing from the 4. I have 4. Now I'm borrowing 1 to give to my neighbor. Now I have 3. So I'm going to turn this into a 3. So this is no longer 4. This is a 3. And since I borrowed 1, I only borrowed 1. Put my 1 right here. And this number now becomes 12. Okay? So now I can subtract. Now I can do 12 minus 5. What is 12 minus 5? Yes, 7. 12 minus 5 is 7. So now I'm done with the 12. That's no more. I'm going to come over to my tens place. I have 3 minus 2 because this isn't a 4 anymore because remember, my neighbor borrowed, okay, from him. So you cannot use 4 anymore. It's now 3. So I have 3 minus 2. What's 3 take away 2? 1. Very good. So 42 minus 25 is 17. Okay, I know it might seem a little tricky, but we're going to do 2 more together. Okay, so let's come down here and look at this one. We have 23 minus 18. Again, we're starting in the ones place, as always. 3 minus 8, okay? That's what I have in my ones place. I can't take 8 away from 3, because if I only have 3, there's not 8 for me to take away. So I have to borrow again. So I'm going to come over here to my neighbor. This is my neighbor. And I'm going to cross out the 2 since I'm borrowing 1 from my neighbor. And I'm going to make this into a 1. So this is not 2 anymore. This is now a 1. So since I borrowed 1, I can bring that 1 over to here. And now this number is no longer 3. It is what? 13. Okay? So 13 minus 8. What's 13 minus 8? Because I can take 8 away from 13. Now I have enough. So what's 13 minus 8? Good. 5. Now I can come over to my tens place. Now remember, this is no longer 2. It is a 1 because the neighbor had borrowed. Okay? So now we have 1 minus 1. What's 1 minus 1? 0. Very good. So our answer is 5. So we have 23 minus 18 equals 5. Okay, let's do one more. We have 56 minus 37. Again, we're starting in which place? The tens or the ones? The ones, very good. We have 6 minus 7 in the ones. Okay, if I have 6, I can't take away 7 because I don't have enough. So I have to borrow again. So I'm going to go over to my neighbor and I'm going to borrow 1. So this is no longer 5. It becomes a 4. And then since I borrowed, now my 6 becomes 16. See how I did that? Okay, so what is 16 minus 7? Now we can take away because we have enough. What's 16 minus 7? Very good, 9. Okay, now I'm going to come over to my tens place. I now have 4 minus 3 because remember, my 6 borrowed. Okay, so now it's 4 minus 3. What's 4 minus 3? Very good, 1. So now we know that 56 minus 37 is 19. Okay, all right, scholars, now you're going to do some on your own. Your problems for today are 45 minus 38, 52 minus 14, 71 minus 48, and 15 minus 9. Once more, 45 minus 38, 52 minus 14, 71 minus 48, and 15 minus 9, okay? Remember, if you don't have enough, you have to go and borrow from your neighbor. Okay, can't wait to see you guys' work.